Hello there. Good morning. It is Friday, February 7th, and we are building, and I'm Rob, that developer dad, and we're working with C Sharp and .NET and all that good stuff. And we are working on the extensions on NPC management features. We're able to, generate them, save them. That's what I've launched the my private beta with. And now that it's in private beta, I can finally get to adding and working up the features that I had kind of triaged out of the process, um, so that I could get this thing launched and out the door. And for some reason, my Blazor app is being silly. It's throwing all kinds of compiler errors and being foolish and just plain dumb. But we're going to run it anyway. So just to review where we're at. Yesterday I got the code to actually do the delete of an unwanted NPC all the way down through the UI, all the way up to where it interacts with the Azure table storage stuff. And I did notice an issue in there. But before we go too far, I actually want to commit feature and delete functionality for townsperson and update UI components. Cool. And let's commit that. We're just going to checkpoint. And I want to run this and see if those compiler issues go away, because there's no reason for them. We shouldn't be seeing them. And I suspect that it's just Roslyn. That's the real-time compiler that's built into .NET Core. I suspect that it's just Roslyn having some issues with the Blazor UI stuff, because I've noticed that it gets cranky from time to time. So I'm going to log in as the under my owner account, and let's see what we got. So we'll go to NPCs. Now there's a couple of things going on in here that I've noticed just while I was developing the delete functionality. And it's that up in the storage account, these things do have a row ID, but it's not propagating over to the JSON that gets stored in the NPC details. And that's something that I really can't have. So I think what I'm going to do before I dive into troubleshooting this, the delete functionality, is I want to get this fixed up. So let's stop this. No, I'm just going to pull this over to the other screen. And up here in the NPC access table provider, let's see. Here's build table client, all the things, calculate partition key, NPC access filter. That's right. Where's save? So there's filter. Let's spin down to save here. Save NPC. Let's drop a breakpoint right in here. All right, so we've got that. Because what I want to do is I want to look at what the NPC access model has in it. And I might need to do some trickery to apply the newly generated NPC ID. We do all of that stuff. New NPC table entity, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So to test this, we're going to just spin up a new NPC. And I don't want somebody who's retired. I really ought to swap that default out. And let's say they're a carpenter. We'll leave everything else up to the dice. Non-binary half-orc. Carpenter started as a charlatan. Interesting. Let's roll it again. Yeah, okay. A noble who became a carpenter. Yeah, that's interesting. And we'll let the AI do its thing. Here we go. They have a light brown complexion, silky blue hair, often adorned with a simple leather apron and necklace made of wood shavings. Oh, that's cute. Let's see. Raised in a noble family. And let's save. And we're going to pause right up here in the save NPC. Excuse me. Method. User ID is my user ID. What is the value of user ID? Where are you? Derp, 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 derp. NPC ID is an empty string here. User ID, GUID inbound ID. Thanks. Jerks. Okay. So, we'll do this. And I actually want to take a look at what's inside NPC and the user ID. Yeah, the user ID is correct. My brain turned that into something else. All right. So, I think what I need to do here is well, let's just step. Build table client, entity is null, NPC table entity, partition key, NPC. Okay. Entity is in fact null. Inbound ID is that. User ID is that. Good. Inbound ID is that. Okay. So, internally within the storage model, no need to do that here. Actually, we do need to do this here. Yep, we absolutely need to do that here. So, stop the project. So row key we are not going to assign. Equals NPC ID. And what I'm going to do, I was thinking that I'd do a ternary expression here to reassign inbound ID, but as slick and terse and concise as ternary expressions are, I don't really like using them because they're hard to, when I'm in a debugging mode and I'm trying to get through something quickly, my brain is going to skip over that ternary expression when I really ought to take a look at what it's doing. So if inbound ID equals GUID.empty, we're going to do that. Now, We've got that. And npc.characterDetails equals reconcile NPC ID. And I'm going to pass NPC character details and the inbound ID. NPC dot character details. And I'm just going to grab this because when I get to where I want to drop this method, I'm not going to remember what the heck I was thinking. So, private string, private string, reconcile NPC ID. And this is not what I want to do. Now, I had done some JSON trickery somewhere along the way. String updated JSON equals string.empty. Character details object, deserialized dictionary string object. And I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Where did I do that replace JSON thing in the past? Had I moved that into framework? Serialization, custom converters, JSON utilities. Serialize for storage, create JSON options. Omit empty, purge null, cleanse nulls. Come on, Rob. Where did you put it? I'll develop it here and migrate it out later. Private JSON element, update element value. It's going to take in a JSON element, object, new value. You know what? Heck with it. Can I say element dot set? Nope. Element dot value? Nope. New JSON element, element dot name? Nope. This is not the way. Let's get rid of this. I do not carry JSON manipulation stuff in my brain. I just don't. Using JSON document doc equals new JSON document dot nope dot parse character details. JSON element root equals doc.root element and I don't think it's NPC ID in there. I believe it's just ID. Let's find out. I'm going to have to go up to Azure Storage here. And I'll just pull this over here while I log in. Portal. And I'll bop over to App Data, Storage Browser, V1 User Objects. And let's take a look. Actually, I want to turn that upside down here. Let's take a look at Kara Thunderscale here. Edit. All right, we can see here that the ID node is an empty GUID. Let's just take a peek. User ID is set correctly, is public as false, given name, family name, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff. And so on. But the ID and the name of that node is capital ID. So let's say get property ID. And that returns us a JSON element. Dot value kind, it's probably a string. Var NPC ID element dot get string. There's not really any need to. Actually, you know what? If NPC ID value equals GUID empty.toString, character details dot replace. That feels really, really dangerous. Else if, and we're not going to do anything. So if it's empty, the new GUID. Is this the correct way to update the value a specific JSON element? It feels really ugly to me. Let's see what Claude has to say. Several better approaches. So JSON node.parse character details. I'm not using Newtonsoft. Okay. System.text.json. Prefer to avoid third-party packages wherever possible. Let's try this one. Now, JSON node is in system.text.json node.nodes. I no longer need to do this JSON document nonsense. So we can rip all of that stuff out. GUID is empty in the first place because when somebody creates a brand new NPC, I am assigning the ID to that as an empty GUID so that I can detect whether or not I need to increment their storage quota, or how much of their storage quota they've consumed or not. And just using GUID.empty as the new object detector rather than having another property on there is new. Just felt like adding another property just to detect that felt silly to me. var JSON node equals JSON node parse character details, updated JSON equals that. And return updated JSON. This feels really, really brittle, but I want to see if it works. And then I'm going to, after I see whether it works or not, I'm going to try and, well, I'm going to make this a little bit more robust and fault tolerant after I've verified that it's going to work for me. All right. Pop out here. Reload. go. New NPC. What were we building? A carpenter? Let's build a carpenter. Who grew up as a noble. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what the kitty says. Okay, so that vomited. I got to do something about that too. Roll those dice. Yeah, okay. Here we go. And let's save. Are we on our breakpoint? We don't appear to be. Let's go back to the list. Here's Catherine. Let's view. All right. Where's save? Is this save? No, that's filter. Here's save. It's actually a a utility for Dungeon Masters. Stop. Oh, poop. I know what I have to do. Rebuild. I modified the code, so I'm going to rebuild and then try it again. There we go. Now we can rerun. Yeah, I'm glad when 9 of 12 pops into the chat and is my second set of eyes for me. She's much more experienced with streaming and podcasting and all of that stuff than I am, and I tend to get laser eyes on my code. All right, let's try this again. Yeah, like that. We'll generate the description. There we go. All right, so NPC ID equals that. It is an empty GUID. We're going to try and find an NPC in my account with an empty GUID as its row key. Inbound ID equals GUID.empty. GUID.new GUID. And let's step in here. Now, right now, my updated JSON is null, but my character details is that. So let's step through this code that Copilot just gave me. Take a look at JSON node. And we've got all these properties. So there's that. And we'll do that. JSON node is the new GUID. Groovy. We can step out of here. My updated JSON is still legal. Good, good, good. Now let's pop out. My character details are now updated with the correct thing. And we've set the NPC ID on the entity, so I should be able to say entity.rowKey. And we're there. Entity.row key equals inbound ID. Dot toString. True. Good. All right. And let's do an upsert. No. Plot generator, no. I prefer to consider what I'm building here as sort of the helper for the dungeon master who hasn't necessarily uh, dove so deep into the details for the game that they're running and writing that they've got names and careers of every character that their NPC that their party meets. But I don't know if you've been running games for ever, but my players, when they run into a new character, even if it's just like a bit player that I didn't intend for them to interact with or anything like that. I mean, come on, it's just a blacksmith. But I've got some players that are like, "Oh, hi, I'm such and such. What's your name?" And I'm like, "Oh, Nicky's. What am I gonna do?" So I'm like, "I'm a programmer. I know how to use AI. What if I wrote an app?" So I wrote an app and then I showed it to them and they're like, "Holy crap, dude, you should like let people buy this." And so then I spent months and months taking it from like a silly little demo that I used to teach how to build software and to solve a problem I was having at the table into an actual product. And now that I'm into beta, this ID issue that I'm trying to solve here, it isn't super duper important because it is getting assigned out here on the row key. But when I start to add more objects to generate, and I'm talking about things like the shop where the blacksmith works, or the tavern that they're visiting, and so on. Like all of those like sort of details that your typical DM, assuming that I'm a typical DM, would love to have, but I'm so focused on what's the big bad evil guy up to, what are the big things that are happening in the world that I kind of neglect those details that really make a game world come to life for both my players and myself. So I'm building some tools to help me, if not completely create those sort of world details, if not fully create them, then at least give me some idea seeds for how I can flesh these, uh, not necessarily crowd level extras, but certainly the walk on bit part, speaking roles, they get like a SAG actor credit because they've said more than one or two lines of dialogue instead of standing back in the crowd just saying watermelon pizza to make it sound like crowd noises. But I have the row key getting assigned to the character details, and that seems to have fixed that problem. Fantastic. Now, I've still got some NPCs over here where the character details says that. Exactly. Exactly 9 of 12. I'm doing this to fill in the blanks and also as a writer's blockbuster. Like a big honking hammer to bust through. I really want a dragonborn glass blower at the tavern, but I haven't got the cognitive capacity to come up with any interesting details. So let me push a button and get some details and plant those seeds in my brain, and then I can take it from there, kind of thing. And agonizing. The next major new feature that I'll be adding once I've got the NPC management stuff handled is I'm probably going to create the places, or help generate the places in which these NPCs will be encountered, like shops, smithies, taverns, etc., etc. All right. So I've still got these characters that have already been generated, but the ID in the JSON hasn't been harmonized with the row key, and I need to fix that before we send it back. So I'm gonna just dismiss these. I just got the 15-minute warning from my calendar. So that little snippet of code seems to have worked just fine. Reconcile NPC ID. But what I want to do is if var ID node equals that. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm all ears on that stuff. If ID node dot value equals, oh, what are we doing? Dot value. No. Cat, for crying out loud. The cat that you hear in the background is deaf. Not root, not parent, this. ToString. ID node dot ToString equals GUID dot empty dot ToString. There we go. And that's all I'm going to do. We'll get rid of that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Save. Rebuild. Okie dokie. Now, before I rerun, I am going to cast it as a string, just in case it ain't. This is exploratory code. I don't deal with manipulating JSON encode very often, so I always have to kind of fumble my way through it, and it seems to change every time a major update for the .NET framework comes along. I do like that in .NET 7, which is the major version before the version I'm using here. I'm using .NET 8 for this. They actually beefed up system.text.json so that I don't have to use Newtonsoft anymore, because I've run into so many version conflicts with Newtonsoft over the years, and just maintaining that is such a giant pain in the neck. I'm glad that there's a built-in JSON utility as part of the .NET framework now. So save. Let's rebuild it one more time because I did alter something. And before I run this, NPC access table provider, I want to go to load NPC. In version 7, they actually made it viable for actual use. Like you can do polymorphic serialization and deserialization now. It's not as smooth. It's still not quite as smooth as it was in Newtonsoft, but there are some use cases where polymorphic deserialization is incredibly handy. So await for each stored NPC and entity query, NPC access model equals that, .2dto, and NPC access model dot character details equals reconcile NPC ID. I'm just going to boop this down to the next line. NPC ID is the GUID. And what I want to do is stored NPC dot row key. Oh, that's a string. You dirty rat. NPC ID. There, that'll do. Okay. And because I altered the code and my JSON launch doesn't automatically rebuild because I swapped it out a while ago and I didn't update everything perfectly. So we'll run this. And I'm going to drop a breakpoint right here. And let's take a look over here and see if I can spot one of these characters who has zeros. And that'll be Catherine. So let's see if this harmonizes it while I load it down. So yes, I know it went to sleep. Here we go. And let's load Catherine. Here she is, NPC access model. We'll go boop. All right, character details, you can see that empty GUID there. The NPC ID is something else. So let's step into here. And the ID node is that, groovy. So we can overwrite it. Our new JSON is there. Happy, happy. And we can step out and let's make sure that it didn't mangle the JSON in such a way that it can't be deserialized into a concrete townsperson object. And it looks as though it is happy. Good stuff. So let's go back to the list and let's actually step through the process that I intended to step through and debug this morning, which is delete. Let's find one of the earlier characters that I built. Actually, we'll find one of these empty ones. This dwarven barkeep, retired. And let's take a look up in the portal and add filter. Well, first off, I want the user ID. Where's my user ID column? It's in here somewhere. Here it is. Let's edit this. And I just want to grab the user ID. Excuse me. Copy that. Cancel out of here. Add filter. Column. User ID is that. Apply it. I should have like 90 or so. A bunch. Let's add a filter. Column will be species. Dwarf. Apply. I scooch that blade over. This isn't the most convenient UI for this. And I've got profession name, vocation name, barkeep retired. We'll add one more filter. Vocation name, barkeep retired. And let's hope I spelled that exactly right. I didn't. Case sensitivity matters. Let's get rid of that. I am not going to spell that right exactly the right way. So what I'll do is I'll just edit it and spin down here, grab the vocation name. Column. Come on. Vocation name value equals that. Apply. All right, there they are. Town location. There's no deleted date on this guy because I haven't set that value. So cool. And the row key is this D130 Beckef blah, 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 which is the ID. So let's delete. Boop. All right, so here we are. We've got the NPC ID. It's the D130 Beckef. That's the one I want. And we'll step over that. We'll end up in the character workloads. API result. Let's step in. And we're in the manager. Delete NPC async. And let's make that go bye-bye. Look for the D130 Beckef. Yep. And my user ID is there. So first thing I got to do is the fetch. NPC entity lookup. All right. We have a value. The value is that. NPC entity deleted date should be that. Yep. And then we upsert async. I want to see about the response. We got a 204 no content. Let's take a look at the Azure table. I'm going to refresh. There's my deleted date. Cool. Pull that over here. Go back to code. Success equals true. We have no exceptions to catch. Step out. We were successful. Return the manager result. Now we got to go get my user quotas. Here we go. Manager result was successful. Good. And my storage quota ID is 1. Yeah, that's the quota ID, consumption. And let's step through this release quota async thing. Access result equals quota access dot release. We'll load the user. Is quota null? Quota is not in fact null. Here's my NPC storage. I've used up 82 slots. Quota.consumption is 81. Let's make sure it updated on the user. So user, current subscription, quotas, storage, consumption is 81. Good. We've saved the user. Payload is the quotas. Boop. Payload. Storage. Consumption's down to 81. Good. Convert it to the application model. Update quota result payload. User quotas is that. Pop down here. API result. I see what I did. I'm a goose. API result dot payload. You can run all the code in the world, but if you don't return the results from your function, it doesn't matter. 25 years slinging code, and I still make the same damn mistakes I made when I was just learning. Only thing is, after 25 years, I've learned to catch those mistakes. Let's refresh the UI. Let's see if that dwarven barkeeper is still there. Should not be. But I didn't see the behavior manifest the way I wanted it to yesterday. But I don't see a retired dwarven barkeeper in here. Dwarf blacksmith. Yeah. Looks like we 86'd him. But he's not actually deleted, because we can refresh my query. This is for preserving the, I'm doing a soft delete, and B, I am keeping quotas on the users because cloud resources come with a cost. So I need to limit how much resources each user uses. And the reason we're doing so many method calls between the UI and the actual service is security, reuse, ease of development for the UI, stuff like that, rather than going directly from the Blazor application to the data store and just zapping. I want to be able to, I need to go through all of these layers because I've designed for change as well. Because I might need to change the way this whole process works, and I might have multiple places that need this delete capability. So it's hopping from component to component to component. But in total, I think there's Blazor UI, client API, manager, resource access. It's just four component hops and back. And yeah, there's multiple method calls along that chain, but I do those mostly just to hide ugly logic. And any more than four hops is starting to get a little bit silly for a given system. Or four primary components, I should say. Sometimes you'll have five if you've got an engine in the mix or whatever. But yeah, anywhere between 4 and 6 is reasonable. More hops than that, it's starting to get unmanageable. All right, and it seems like delete seems to be working, and my stored NPCs count is down to 81. So good stuff. I am going to call that success. I'm going to need to test more. I'm going to need to do more thorough testing and so on, of course, but we can check some boxes. Look at why some NPCs have an empty GUID in the ID JSON. Solved it. Added these methods. Make sure the user's storage quota when the delete is successful. Check it. Got it. And because these guys are so very close together, the view and delete buttons, I think on the NPC screen, hey, Chandu, how are you? You caught me just as I'm wrapping up here. What am I building? I'm glad I've got a Twitch macro just for that. You caught me just as I'm about to wrap up for the morning, but I'll be back in a couple of hours. But I'm building a set of tools for it's the same project. I'm just extending some of the capabilities. The next one I'm going to take on, and we'll probably start in on that Monday, is edit. Yes, it's a web app. I actually yesterday upgraded from the free tier of the Azure App Service to the least expensive paid tier that they have. It's costing me, a little bit a month, but it's still reasonable. And I've got it hooked up to a custom domain name, and the store is active, but I'm not publishing I'm not publicizing or doing any marketing yet because I'm in what I'm calling a sort of private paid beta period. And then once I get through VPS, I'm not familiar with VPS. Vercel? Is that VPS? I'm doing everything in Azure, man. It's what I know. It's what I can stand up quickly. And honestly, it's really not that expensive. It's really, really not that expensive to do a lot. Yeah, I love Azure. Like during my development phase of this, my average Azure bill per month was like a nickel. Oh, virtual private server? Nah. I'm not gonna no. I'm not into setting up a private like a virtual machine and having to maintain the bloody uh, operating system and the networking goo and all of that crap. I'm just using Azure App Service, man. It works beautifully. It's secure, or rather, it's more secure than anything I could configure by myself because I am not smarter than the people that make Azure. Um, but yeah, it does the trick for me, and I'm hosting the web app for this, the administrative API, a small handful of Azure functions, and then of course I'm running a Azure OpenAI service buried deep in the system. And honestly, XWizard, if this thing gets to the point where it makes more sense to run my own data center, so to speak, um, I'll be in a position where I've got enough revenue to hire somebody to deal with that crap for me, and and actually just own the servers and stuff. Yeah, if I get to the point where that makes financial sense, I will be overjoyed because I won't just be paying my own bills, but I'll finally have the ability to help somebody else pay theirs. And that would make me very, very happy as an individual because I'm not doing this to become a billionaire or anything like that. If I can end up turning this into my full-time job and paying for the resources that myself and my family need to survive, doing just stuff like this, that would be fantastic. And then after that, it'll be about saving for when I don't want to do this anymore. And then after that, it'll be about sharing the love and paying some people to join me in building this stuff. So, yeah. And that's actually one of the reasons why I'm doing all of this stuff publicly is because maybe people can tune in and say, "Holy crap, that slob, he's making some software and it's cool." And maybe I can do that too. And maybe I should pay attention and see how he approaches things and maybe go from zero to where he is in 3 to 5 years instead of the 25 years it took me to get to the point that I'm at. Because along the way, I've learned for free from a lot of people, and I kind of want to give away what I've learned, um, which is why I'm doing these streams and moving them over to YouTube on as close to every weekday as possible. So yeah, we've got the problem with the IDs solved. Delete seems to be working well. Just to be for sure, one last test. And we're going to get rid of all of these breakpoints. Goodbye. Breakpoints. And come back here. I'm just going to create a new one without running through the AI stuff. Here we go. Half orc, retired entertainer, was a hermit. Let's just save that as is. Oh, no, I pushed the AI button. Now we'll save them. Another Gromak Iron Fist. Gosh. GPT 4.0 is getting it's running out of ideas. Let's get rid of these filters. Here's Gromak. And you can see over here I've got a couple other Gromak Iron Fists who are also entertainers. I don't want to have to rag in all the other character names I've made, but we've got him. So there he is. There is no deleted date on this fellow. So let's come out to the UI again. Back to the list. There's Gromak. Delete. Gone. Stored NPCs is 82. That feels not quite right. There's 81. Okay, so that thing down there isn't updating in real time, but that's okay. As long as it's eventually consistent, I'm fine with it. All right. Hey, C Films. Oh, man, all these people coming in just as I'm about to sign off. I'll be back at 1 p.m. my time. I think you're 3 hours behind me. So it'll be like 10 o'clock a.m. your time is when I'm going to be coming back on this. But delete seems to be working. There's like little picky little things down here that I can let slide for now. This afternoon, I'm going to come back and we're going to focus on this. Popping a confirmation dialog before we delete. And that will be this afternoon's focus. All right, folks, thanks for jumping in. Thanks for hanging out. Experience Wizard, great questions, great comments. I appreciate you. Chandu, I appreciate you popping in. It's been a while. And C Films, it's always a pleasure to see you come in, man. Until this afternoon, I want you to be kind to yourselves and happy coding. Take care, friends. Bye now.